Hey there guys, gals, and non-binary pals, GM Potter here. Welcome to my channel where I review books and bookish things. I try to upload on Thursdays and alternating Tuesdays, and since it is closing in on the end of the year, I thought that we would talk about the worst 5 books I read this year. Last video, we talked about the 10 best books I read this year. I thought we should pay special attention to the 5 worst books that I read this year. So, let's get into it. Okay, so coming in at number 5, we have The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. This one has a 4.06 on Goodreads. I think this is the highest rated book on this list, and I did not like this one. It's medical stories about people with brain issues and memory issues, and it's told in such a, almost to me, I'm going through some brain things right now, trying to figure out what's going on health-wise. It's told with such an amount of irreverence and a lack of empathy that it just made me upset to read it. I finished it, and it's told in a vein of, well, that's weird, moving on, not any, and this is how we're helping the person, and this is how we can, like, there's no, it's told in a, yep, that's weird, moving on, and it frustrated me, because I've been dismissed by doctors going through medical things, and I realize that's not necessarily the fault of the author, but at the same time, the lack of empathy in writing is the author's fault, that he could have been more empathetic to these people. It's almost like he's forgetting that these are people, actual real people that he's writing about. Coming in at number 4, we have City of Villains by Estelle Laurie. This one has a 3.41 on Goodreads. It is a Disney book where basically all your classic Disney characters are like teenagers and young adults and that kind of thing in the city, and it's boring and it's poorly written, and Maleficent deserves better. Maleficent is my favorite Disney character. She is the best character. She turns into a really cool dragon, which who doesn't want to turn into a dragon? And it's frustrating because my favorite character is in the book and it's just dull. It's bad writing, it's boring, it's frustrating. Then we have number 3, The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This one has a 3.44 on Goodreads. I'll link my review for this one up above. Honestly, sometimes too much is just too much. It's just bad. It's shock value for the sake of shock value. She's trying so hard to say something that she ends up saying nothing over the course of the book, and it's just frustrating that it's got this kind of psychosexual-esqueness to it, and not being over an X but not processing it either. It's muddy and it's convoluted and it's wretched excess in the worst possible way. So I just didn't enjoy this one. Then coming in at number 2, we have The Elevation Approach. Subtitle, Harness the Power of Work-Life Harmony and Unlock Your Creativity, Cultivate Joy, and Reach Your Biggest Goals. This one is by Tina Wells. It has a 3.45 on Goodreads. It's schlocky, it's contrived, it feels phoned in at best, and it's the worst kind of self-help. It's very much the wish it, want it, be it joke that was on Family Guy when Brian writes a book, that it's the laziest form of self-help writing. It's a long book, and she says nothing. She says nothing. And there's nothing of value in this book, or at least nothing I could find of value in this book, and it's just boring. Before we get to number one, I wanted to go over an honorable, or I guess in this case, dishonorable mention. This one was the most mediocre, the most blah book. And that is Blue is the Warmest Color by Julie Morrow. This one has a 3.91 on Goodreads. And this one tries so hard to be artistic and to say something and to make you fall in love and with the characters, but it's about heartbreak, and it's just meh. It's just kind of there. Like, I read it in an afternoon. It's a graphic novel. It's a short graphic novel. But it just wasn't good. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't worth reading. It wasn't worth what I paid to buy the book. Like, I wish my library had this one. It's graphic sexually in a way that feels... It's not as bad as the movie. I've seen the movie. The movie is straight up pornographic. And the movie loses the sincerity that the book approaches having. They both fail. They're both... But where the movie is bad, the book is just mediocre. It's 3 stars, and I couldn't be bothered to read it again. I sold it back to the bookstore I bought it from. And coming in at number 1, we have Man, F This House by Brian Asman. This one has a 3.39 on Goodreads. The title promises something interesting and witty and just interesting, and it's not. All the cleverness is contained in the title. And honestly, it's not that clever a title. Like, it's a funny title. It made me pick up the book. So I guess it did its job, but it's just not. It's not good. It's not a good book. It's a terrible book. I don't care about the characters. The characters are awful. They're wooden and one-dimensional and unlikable on top of that. Like, you can have, like, a wooden, non-dimensional character, but at least make them likable. At least make them, at best, neutral. At worst, neutral. Make them neutral. These characters were unlikable. I did not enjoy reading about them. I wanted them all to die. Like, I wanted these characters to meet with a horrible end, because then something would happen in the book. And it just... I love horror, and this book honestly made me take a break from horror, because it was so bad. Those are the 5 worst books I read in 2023, and the most mediocre book I also read in 2023. What have you read any of these? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd also love to know what the worst book you read this year was. Maybe we have the same opinion on it, and we can be miserable together in the worst book we read. Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.